If you have a mind to it, you'll want to breathe in and out slowly and extend your awareness into the mind field, into the field of the flaming hoopfulas, into the smallest sea of lucubration and this chaos of administrative discipline descendants that's persuaded. Let's pursue these active measures and get at that where the concrete truth is. They are in and read out. They're in and read out. The report on the first page, please. This is an unofficial communication. Oh, wait. Sensible moth, attend to me. And there we go. And we retry. All the relevant section in respect to this question of a report by one Dory Tarnheim from her post as senior auditor in our own section of what she describes in some detail here, but the first paragraph states the problem lies here because in fact we do have no direct contact with the hoopists in space, or indeed the other inhabitants who inhabit this galaxy, only an intermediary who acts between us. We have always assumed this must be due, in part at least, to an inability or disinclination on their part for direct relations. The trouble about our not having a direct relation with the hoopies in the general terms seems pretty obvious when one considers there's nothing for us to base it on except for that of our third party. We can't give straight answers to anything. He says about the situation. He gives very misleading accounts of things. He has a sort of tendency to tell a tale instead of a fact. Breathe in, breathe out. And he often goes off his head. And yet the best people working for the company have worked themselves nearly mad trying to unravel all sorts of problems in relation to these strange natives. Ooh. Minus 10 points for that. And now you come to think of it, they're still stranger and harder to understand than anything I've encountered on Earth, even during my time in India, which must go back 120 odd years. I want you to process this bit of Orientalism and counter it using all of your CBT powers. Provide alternate points of view. Oh. Woo! Okay. We have 20 odd years. I mean, we haven't seen much in the way of social progress. I'd almost say retrogression. Actually, since I came here, and certainly we didn't have such a good progression with these fellows. And let's see, I may or may not be using this in the proper way. Then that you might have imagined would be so civilized in their attitude to human beings. We'll give you some time. Then that you might have imagined would be so civilized. In fact, I can remember quite well when we got them as employees in their own world, the way they were regarded and how little they had then because we were able to bring. Alright, well, that's one demerit. 2 more left. The way they were regarded over certain elements to improve matters, and it was all done very carefully so that we shouldn't have to go through all the business of de-oeticalization. Oh, I think it's trying to understand Orientalization. They don't like being called by names they regard as vulgar names either by us or by any other species they happen to encounter in space, so if it isn't something they can relate easily with, they try to what? They try to avoid the use of those particular words. And let's enlarge. There we go. Those particular words. Now, the difficulty of not making friends with the hoopfulas is not one of finding out their wants, but getting to the point at which we could explain our wants. This may sound paradoxical, but in order to get around to explaining ours to them, we first have to know what theirs really are, and I'm afraid the whole matter of this business is so complex it might take a lot of time to describe properly what they would expect. Oop, sorry. Yep. And we're faced with the necessity also to keep up appearances with our public relations men at the headquarters on Earth, or the company, or whatever we are called nowadays, which does make you feel old. But you see this third person whom everybody speaks about in hushed tones, who's supposed to be in touch with us about this planet. His name is Rolvig, and he's our most highly valued employee at our organization. As you will probably already be aware from my earlier letters, we do not employ this kind of man I would call typical of a civilized society on our world of Old Dorando. The individual has more rights and less duties, and we don't believe in paying for services rendered. We don't believe. But this is another world where the concept of ownership is still alien. We don't think in those terms. That's a little confusing. If I own a piece of cloth or a horse, then I should do whatever is necessary to make that cloth cover more ground. If I own a piece of cloth or a horse, then I should do whatever is necessary to make that cloth cover more ground. What about the horse? It's the same idea in this instance. The problem is we've had Rolvig living among us for more long months. Now it turns out we cannot make out his story about how this intermediary works. For example, he tells stories. He tells tall tales. He gets excited by the stories. He says he has seen these natives who have given all kinds of problems. He's been out into the jungle, into the land, looking for a place where the gold or silver or jewels or things he talks about are said to be kept or made available to mankind. I must say that after a while, it seemed to us he became rather unreliable. He told some wild tale. He changed everything he said to suit a new turn in the argument. We had to send a group of young men down with him to find what he claimed to be the treasure trove. We put them in a position where it might become dangerous. When I asked them why, they did not simply kill him, or at the very least shoot but one eye. I got the impression that it was just to please Rolvik that they went on the expedition. In fact, they felt a bit of killing would make him happier, which it certainly didn't. And I can assure you he's in a bad way about the loss of an eye. The worst of it is, though, whoa! The worst of it is, though, I suppose he could tell us all about the place and says the hoopus live, and we can't find anyone in this world who's ever set eyes on it. And when I said as a result we didn't have any proof that the Hoopies even exist, he turned a deaf ear to it. I suppose he's a very sensitive man in certain aspects. But the fact remains we got nothing solid to stand upon in our attempts to communicate and to get our side of the story across. And the problem is not just that the Hoopas don't speak, they can't. We are certain of this. The language is very simple, very difficult to understand because it's based on very simple principles. There aren't any written languages on their worlds, and the people can talk for years about anything, but they don't know how to write. Yet we all learn their speech without any difficulty. The only thing about the Hopi is that I have heard so far is their language, which is very musical. And I mean that literally in one respect, because when we first met with these strange people, and they gave us the benefit of their hospitality and treated us to a banquet in our own town, we were surprised and somewhat impressed by what the women wore. And by the way, they used their words of our mother tongue as part of the songs they sang. For the first time, I'd come across the use of the feminine pronoun in its possessive sense. What? That's a little... Alright. Yep. That's old. This is not a common feature in this country. But I now want to draw your attention... But I now want to draw your attention to another aspect, namely the music of the voice, the tones. I have to say that it's something which impresses you. I know it. They have voices of beauty that would cause tears to spring up from any woman's eyes, but not men. They're just telling me just more and more about our society, that we're pretty retrogressive ourselves. We are trying always to improve the relationship with the Hopi. I'm in a sort of minority of the two as regards this policy. For our head of administration is the biggest advocate of direct communication. I think it will take a long time before he gets his own way. He feels if we could find a common denominator in the language and so forth, we'd be in much better shape, but it doesn't work like that. You know the old saying, one man's ox is another man's dog. I don't want to offend anybody, but our head of administration really can't be considered for high rank. He has an overactive mind. You see, in a society such as this, where the individual holds most power, it's the small number of individuals who are the big shots that get the jobs, not necessarily those who've shown they can do the work. And so it comes back again. One man's dog is another man's ox, so there it is. What am I driving at? See, this person's now sounding a little bit unreliable. We'll see. Well, the fact that we are so isolated, so separated from what I call the outside world, has made us think twice and more than once before sending a team into unknown territory. You're wondering how I knew what you would say about all this. Well, that's right. It came through the little girl in the letter. You know, we're not at present in contact with any kind of radio transmission from the Hoopies. I thought if you sent me another letter, you'd ask about that little thing I had in mind. Of course, it may seem strange, the whole idea of communicating between the races is quite contrary to our notions and practices. We try and live a civilized life with the idea that the more we mix with other species in the galaxy, we get to know their ways, the less chance we run of being killed by the... Let's see, where's the... But it's the fact that we're still in a very immature state on this planet of Earth in the company of the Hoopies, which makes the idea more practical. For the rest, we have no means whatever to find out what is going on elsewhere. That seems like to be a pivot of some sort. Let's see. I don't want this report to become just one of those papers you keep saying I should put in the scrap basket, but it might help you a bit if you would pass it along. It will have the effect of letting me know how the other side of the fence views my position. I suppose you have given some thoughts to the matter? To give us a report when you next have a free day, we need to be well informed. Yours respectfully and fraternally, I have signed the letter because you don't do it otherwise here. Dear Mrs. Field, thanks for yours. We, your superiors, have much to say about the attack in which you have employed in this manner. The letter you wrote was, in fact, the one which had to be written if you were to convey what we had asked of you, but in writing it in the form of a note rather than a proper letter of inquiry, you gave a good account of yourself and your abilities. I can tell you this much. Let's see. Our people will take their orders directly and with as little trouble and fuss as they would direct an office boy, but they must not be interfered with by outsiders, and above all, we cannot accept any responsibility for the safety of anyone else's son or wife or child. Your superiors thank your parents for having had a sensible son and for bringing you to our attention in the manner that they did. We hope your superiors can send another daughter. Then the fact is, we have explained before, you do not expect to live forever on this planet. Our lives here end. Your superior can be sure that any young man or lady who can produce the slightest indication of ability will get preferential consideration when he reaches a point where we need to select new members. As I have said previously in other letters, we have the best interests at heart of any people we are responsible for. We don't believe in interfering with any culture unless there is reason or cause. For our superiors, and you, and all those who have a similar role on this particular globe of this solar system of ours, have the welfare of every single person, of every one race and color at our disposal. We know how difficult and expensive this task can be, but that's what our organization exists for. We pay to have our employees, we have to pay our employees adequately. Your employers have no doubt seen in your own life the kind of thing I'm referring to when they say your superior must have some sort of sense. If I have a sense, it isn't of anything but money, which seems a pity in your eyes, although it is necessary that this planet of Earth, in whose company I find myself in this present state, is maintained in the most comfortable fashion at its own expense. But as I said before, we must have money. Money for you is a matter of self-interest and the best interest of your people, not that of any particular government. You may wonder why this is. I can assure you that we do too. It is a mystery, makes us a little uneasy. I will try and explain, but I will not claim that the explanation is complete. We can't understand all the reasons why you are doing this work, and so I will simply give my impressions. You seem to have the kind of mind that likes to find the reason for what it is for it. This might lead to difficulties, but you have been selected and appointed to a position of great honor and importance because our superiors are satisfied by your abilities. It is in their power alone to remove your superiors from office at any time they feel you have performed unsatisfactorily or failed in your duty, as indeed it would seem that it is likely to happen sooner or later in view of the ways the situation has developed, so you may find the work more interesting and satisfying if the thought comes to you. I have no such worries. It would take something quite unusual, some sort of catastrophe like the extinction of the whole population, or something equally serious and catastrophic to make me change. It is with deepest reluctance, and the feeling it will not be a popular decision on my part if the time should ever come, that I had the job done in your name. But we had a choice. We could allow your superiors, if they are capable enough to survive in this kind of climate, the opportunity to try to bring themselves into line with the realities and present us with circumstances, or we might try to use your influence and the prestige of your position to help effect a more satisfactory relationship.